Just one more thing I wanted to add about this practice, and this really applies for any meditation technique, but I think particularly to the one we did today, because we've been practicing for almost 2 hours together, with going from close focus to letting go and being wide open, and then noticing what part of awareness stays the same no matter what you do with this technique. But there's this other thing that happens, and it has to do with the word renunciation. Of course, this is not a religiously based group or anything like that, but it is an important word, renunciation, because we are renunciants in a way. And we could say, well, what are we renouncing? Because this is not a religious movement or political movement. This is really at the most practical level. You may have experienced during the meditation that during the part where you're not focused and you're letting your mind be open, that it starts wandering, and that's okay, that's part of the instruction. But at a certain point, it wanders too far, and you realize, I'm feeling this is not peace. I choose peace, and then you return to using a little more intention and energy in your, I don't want to use the word focus, but where you place your mind, really tightening on the sensation of the breath moving in and out. And it could also work in reverse, where you're too tight, focusing on the in and out. And you can tell there's too much effort there, and that's its own particular kind of suffering, actually. So you loosen up and release and find a deeper peace that way. So we're always moving back and forth, trying to find that sweet spot moving in and out. And when we go too far in either direction, too tight, too loose, we renounce that. We're renouncing that automatic, almost random suffering that occurs of either too tight or too loose, and all the random feelings and emotions that occur. We want to, work with the mind and return it to a state that's free of that suffering. So that's really at the core what it means to be a renunciant. I think that's the first time I'm using this word with this group, and not that we have to take it on as a label, but just it's a way of thinking about what do we do when we practice. Are we just trying to relax? And just relaxing doesn't necessarily bring peace. It can actually be like opening Pandora's box, and suddenly old memories and urges and thoughts come up, and we're in worse shape than we were before we started meditating. So during the session, when we start to calibrate our mind, moving back and forth, every decision to move away from suffering toward peace is an act of renunciation. So it's just really important that, it's something an attitude you could take every time you practice, that I am a renunciant of the suffering that is part of my conditioned mental experience, and I'm seeking peace. So just wanted to add that perspective, not only to this technique, but really it applies to any technique that we do together.